Hello, hello. This is Dr. Hines. And today I just want to take some time. I call it the 30-minute drive in. You're driving into work, you're driving from work, you're driving to run errands. Just a 30-minute conversation on particular topics. Today I'm just going to talk to parents specifically about what to do when you have a senior in high school and their plan is to go to college. Um, I'll do another one pertaining to parents who have children or guardians that they're responsible for that are not planning the college route. That will be a different one. But today I just want to talk about, you know, child's planning to go in college, to going into their senior year. That's their goal. What do you do? So, you know, first we need to recognize the importance, the significance, and sometimes the burden of the senior year. The senior year is the culmination of what they have been working for. If they've gone straight through from kindergarten all the way through to high school, that they have been indoctrinated with education for 13 years. And so, with that being said, tests, teachers, the actual school environment, the climate, having to adjust from elementary to middle, from middle to high, and then some of the life changes that they have endured. Family members that may have transitioned, family members that were once in their life that are no longer in their life, friends that have moved away, friends that are there but they just don't communicate with that child anymore. They're going through a lot of students have gone through. Most students have gone through changes, and some of them have been setbacks. Some of them have been positive things, but changes nonetheless. And then we get to the senior year, and a lot of parents that I've dealt with in my career, some of them really believe that their child has it all figured out, and this is the year that they kind of back up and just say, I'm just going to be there to support my child, and I'm there if they need me. And I understand the thinking on that, but if ever there was a time that a child needed support and sometimes a little push in the back, it's that senior year. That senior year is paramount. That senior year is, you know, important for them to be able to function, important for them to be able to, you know, really culminate everything that they've been doing, in all of their school years. And sometimes it can be very daunting, it can be very overwhelming. It can cause them to have depression, it can cause them to have anxiety because a lot of decisions have to be made in a short amount of time. There is no next year after you graduate. That's it. And if you're in a public school setting, which is where I work, I tell students this a lot that high school is the end of free education. Now, if you go to private school and you pay for it, that's a different conversation. But if you go to public school, that's the end of free education. So it's important that students have an idea and an understanding of the importance and what they have to do, but they also have to understand that, and parents have to understand the support for that child, especially from a mental health standpoint, is important. And that mental health piece, that's a whole different conversation that I definitely will have on that. But it's better, it's good to support the child and let them know that you're there and let them know that you're cheering for them to succeed. Um, Sometimes parents take for granted high school graduation. Oh, I know you're going to graduate. Well, a lot can happen in a year, and a kid and a student can just kind of go blank, kind of flatline. And sometimes, as life, progresses and life does what life does, they need the help and support. So it's where it all comes together. And the first thing, for students that are going to college, it's important that they know, okay, where do I stand? Like, what's my GPA? And this conversation needs to happen, in my opinion, before school starts. Really, it needs to happen at the end of the junior year, so we can see what's your GPA. What classes do you need to take to fulfill graduation requirements going into the senior year? Are there any state tests or industry certifications or community service you need to do, or whatever needs to be done as you go into the senior year? Because if you know what you need to do, you can plan for it. What becomes daunting is when students come into the senior year, they're excited, they're seniors, first of the year comes, that first quarter comes, first semester goes by, and then they start thinking about it. And you're halfway through your senior year. And now all of these decisions have to come together in a short amount of time. And it can be very overwhelming and daunting for students. And so that's why it's good. And as parents and caregivers and guardians, it's important that you are involved in this conversation, because as much as you know, you can help support the child. I've dealt with parents that have said, "Listen, I'm going to leave it up to the child. They're going to figure it out. They make it, they make it. They don't, they don't." And that's really not helpful to the child at all, because some of them have been dealing with that situation their whole lives. And so sometimes all kids need is just one person that has their back, one person that supports them, and they could do amazing things. Um, but if the plan is to go to college, we need to know GPA. We need to know classes that you need to take, and we also need to know, okay, what colleges am I looking at to enroll into in the fall? Um, and what colleges that are out there have the major that I'm interested in. And I always have students try to hone down on a major for a couple of reasons. One, why go to a school simply because it's a school that is popular or a school that you like, but they really don't have the major that you're interested in and what you are interested in doing? Now, we know a lot of students go to college and they change their major twice, sometimes three times, and it has its pluses and its minuses. But you want to have an idea of something you want to do. So in all your years of school, from elementary, middle, and high, you had to have some interest, okay? And some interest should lead to some major that interests you, that when you go to college, this is something that I want to learn more about. To me, that's the primary question. What is it that you want to do as a child that you can see yourself doing for a very long time? What is it that the child is interested in right now that they can see themselves doing for long periods of time and not be bored? Now, there are good parts of every job, good parts of every career, and there's very taxing parts of every career. Some people are inclined to be lawyers because they understand legalese and they like, learning and understanding and interpreting and defending persons with an understanding of the law. Some people, that's just not their inclination. That's not what they're into. Some people work better with their hands. So anything that they can do where they're using their hands, they like that. But that may not be for everybody. And so it's important for the child to have an understanding of what they might want to do, the college that they want to go to. But here comes the conversation that parents need to have with their child. And I think it needs to happen earlier on, like in the beginning, like that first month or two, where the parent and the guardian really have a sit down conversation with that child about paying for college. Because some students have this myth that because, dad or mom has this nice house we live in and she drives this nice car and I have these things, that there's just this pot of money sitting on the side waiting for me, that when I go to college, it's there. And in some instances, it's not. And parents know this. And sometimes students will have this idea that I can go to this college or I can go to that college. And the parent knows they don't have the money to pay for it. And so they'll mention to the child, hey, if you want to go to this college, you got to do scholarships. But the child may not do it because they're thinking in their mind, well, we live in this nice house, this nice car, I have nice things, I have a car. I just know you have money set aside for me for college. What parent wouldn't? What guardian wouldn't? And sometimes that's not the case. And sometimes as parents, you have to be honest and say, I have the money to send you to a college, but this is the budget that I'm working with. We as parents, you as a parent, you as a guardian, whatever. Or I put all of our finances to make sure that you had a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food to eat. And I simply don't have thousands of dollars just sitting around for you to go to college. I can't afford to pay $40,000 a year for you to go to college. Some parents have put so much money out when it comes to private school that they're doing that in hopes that the child earns an athletic or academic scholarship. You have to have the conversation with your child about in-state and out-of-state. You know, what can we afford? In a lot of situations, in-state schools are going to be more or not as expensive as out-of-state schools. But some students have this pie in the sky idea, oh, I can go to this school or I can go to that school. And the parents like, I just don't have the money to send you 750 miles away to school and you stay on campus and I have to pay for tuition, room and board, living fees, all that. Now, an in-state school I probably can afford, but you're going to have to do scholarships. You're going to have to be responsible for raising the money. And I tell students this, there's no other time that you will write a 1,000-word essay and get a $1,000 scholarship. It's no other time in life that'll happen. So you have to be focused in addition to doing everything to finish graduation requirements. In addition, if you're playing sports or in a club or you're doing community service or you're volunteering, in addition to all of the things that you're doing, you have to set aside time to apply for scholarships. Okay? Money is just not out there like you think. There are opportunities, though, to earn scholarship money. And I stress scholarships. Yes, there's the FAFSA. Please fill that out. But some students, based on the bracket that their parents are in, they're not going to qualify for any aid through the FAFSA. That's a whole different conversation we can have, too. But you have to be honest with your child and have that conversation in the beginning so that they fully understand this is the budget. This is what we're working with. I'm sorry that you thought it was this or that, but I need to have this conversation with you at the beginning of the year so that you start looking at things that's more in alignment with what we can afford and what you can produce. Now, if you're able to get a scholarship full ride, go anywhere you want. I applaud it. But if you can't, we have to have that conversation. And it's important that you really support students on and really push them doing the scholarships because it really helps. And you have to have the conversation, in-state, out-of-state. Are you going to go to a school where you commute and go to school and you stay at home? Or are you going to live on campus? If you're going to live on campus, where are you going to live? Are you okay with living in a room with somebody else that you've never met before? That could be from a completely different state, has a completely different way of life than what you're used to. A lot of students, they have their own room. Some students don't. Some students have their own room. They're used to having their own space. You go to college, you're going to share a room in a lot of situations, in a lot of cases. Are you prepared to be able to do that with somebody that you don't know? You got some students that are they're night owls. They don't go to sleep until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And you may have the habit that by 10:30, 11 o'clock, you're out. How are you going to be able to function and deal with somebody that, doesn't operate in the same way that you do? Just have these conversations with the child. You got your major, you got what schools you want to go to, where the school, where is it located, how far away from home do you want to go to school? Some students in the beginning say, I want to go as far away from home as possible. And they go 200 miles away and they get homesick the first weekend. They don't realize how attached to home that they are, and homesickness happens. And so as a parent, when you're having these conversations, as a guardian, when you're having these conversations with the child, these are conversations that have to come up. Some students have never been away from home longer than a week. And then you go off to college and it may be months before you come home again. So, these are just some things I think, are important when your child is choosing a college. And there's a lot of things that happen. The kid may go to a school and it may not be right and they want to transfer, and that's fine. The discussion also has to happen if it's a 4-year school or a 2-year community college. And I'm an advocate of the community college, and I can tell you why. Because one, it's a cheaper option than a 4-year school. Okay, and it's real college classes taught by real professors. Um, I've heard students say things over the years where community college is like the 13th grade and it's really not college. Yes, it is. But here's the other benefit of community college. Say, for instance, you get there and you just can't see yourself doing 4 years at a college. Just, it's not what you want to do. If you stay 2 years, you can get an associate's degree, which is an advanced degree, postgraduate degree after high school. Now, does it have the same weight as a bachelor's 4-year degree? No. But there's some jobs and you can make good money and have a great, prosperous career in life with just an associate's degree. There's nothing wrong with that. And some students, they get the associates, they work, they go back to school, they get the bachelor's, they work, they go back to school, get the master's, and they just move on and on and on and on and on. And that's where you really have to have a conversation with the child to know what is the best thing for them. Some students take what's called leap years, whichever one. After I'm finished with high school, I really don't want to go to school right away. I want to be able to work. I want to be able just to enjoy not having to be in a classroom and kind of find myself. And I'm fine with that, but you have to be productive while you find yourself. Because some students have this idea that parents have this pot of money and they can just give it to you and you can just, travel the world and see things on somebody else's dime. And then you come back and say, all right, now I'm going to college. No, it doesn't always work that way. So it's good that you have these conversations with your child so you can say, hey, what are you thinking about doing? Now, when you get the child that says, I don't know, I know I want to go to college, I don't know, conversations can happen with the school counselor is a great start. A lot of high schools have, college and career counselors or college transition coaches, different names, different schools, different school districts. But try to have as many conversations as you can. If there's a coach that the student trusts, have a conversation with that coach. If there's a teacher that, the student and the teacher have a good bond, have a conversation with that teacher. Have a conversation with an administrator. Have a conversation definitely with the school counselor. Have a conversation with the school social worker. Because the more input that you have, and these people are at the schools to help your child, use the resource. Use the different opinions. One person may say this, another person may say that. But in all of the conversations, if you're there, if it does nothing else, it shows the child that you're interested in the decisions that they have to make. They have to ultimately make the decision. I'm sorry, parents, as much as you want to, it's the child's decision. Yes, it's what you can afford. That has a big part to play in it. But you're paying for a child to go to school. And if you want them to go and they don't want to go, there's a chance that they may flunk out on purpose so that they don't have to go. And that money is wasted. So, and also it's important for students to understand where they want to go to school because it focuses on where you can apply. You may want to go to the University of whenever, wherever, but you may not have the GPA or the SAT and ACT scores to allow you to get into that college. One of the things I always tell students about college is it's certain things that colleges look at. And they look at the classes you take, the grades you make, your application. If there's an essay involved, they read that, and test scores. They're not going to call you. They're not going to invite you in to sit down and have an interview. Now, some schools, I believe some of the Ivy League schools, they do that. And some of the other schools do. But not many schools are going to call you on the phone or have a Zoom meeting or or Google Meet or invite you in to talk to decide whether or not they're going to admit you. They're going to admit you based on the documentation, your application, your grades, test scores. If there's an essay with the application, they're going to read that. So it's important that you have those things in order. And I tell students, when you come into your senior year, have 3 essays already on hand. One essay talks about why you want to go to college. What life experiences have happened that have developed your idea that you want to go to college. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be that you want to follow in the footsteps of your parents. It could be that you want to do something that has never been done before. You've got to put that, and you've got to put your heart into these essays. A lot of students using this, chat GPT and artificial intelligence to write these essays. Now, and I'm telling you, these college admissions counselors and the people at these universities, they can tell. They have programs that can detect if you're used. They want to hear from you. Why do you want to go to college? Another essay could be, what adversities have you overcome while you were in high school, while you were in school in general, and how through those adversities have you been able to persevere? They love to hear where students have persevered, because when you go to college, you're going to have to persevere. Another one could be about, I want to go to college because I want to study, anthropology. I want to learn, about history and art, about artifacts. I'm really interested in that. If you have those 3 essays easy on hand, you have something to work with. So when you have scholarships that come out, instead of you having to write something from scratch, you can take an essay you already did, tweak it a little bit, and it's ready to go. And there'll be no other time in your life where you're going to be able to, do an essay of 1,000 words and get $1,000. There's no other time in life that you're going to have that. So, again, these are just some things, just to sum it all up, some things as parents you need to think about. Have that conversation early with the child, early on in the school year. Please don't wait until, it's Christmas time and have that conversation with the child. It's too late. You got to have that conversation with them about budget and finance. You have to have that conversation, if nothing else, to tell them you are there to support them. And there's going to be conversations that are going to happen throughout the year. They're going to come to you and ask questions, and you're not going to know all the answers as parents. And students, it's okay to ask questions. I'd rather you ask the question and get the knowledge that you seek than to walk in the blind thinking you know and you don't know. And parents, don't be afraid to use the resources at the school. School counselors could be a primary source. School social workers, administrators, a teacher, a coach. Somebody at that school that the student feels comfortable with, because all these different opinions can help. And it also builds this family and this network to kind of take the stress off of the kid. But the kid hears it from certain people and they're like, okay, well, I never thought of that. Well, this person said this and I didn't hear that from the other person. So all these different inputs can help when it comes time for that child to make that decision to go to college. And we all want what's best for our kids. We want our kids to succeed. We want our kids to do well, and we want them to transition from high school to college as seamlessly as possible. Now, there are going to be some hiccups because it's a change, it's a shift. But if we believe in our kids, if we trust our kids can be great, and we have a plan for their success, they're going to do great things. That's it for today. It's Dr. Hines. If you like what you heard, click the like button. I appreciate all the feedback, comments. Thank you very much. And until next time.